So today, I'm going to review and summarize The Firm of the Future by Paul Dunn and Ron Baker. The first thing that we're going to look at is the Cobb value curve. Now, it's important to understand that your firm is all over this curve at any given time for any given customer. The major mistake that professionals make is treating all customers equally by pricing their services with one hourly rate method, no matter where they are on the curve. And we're going to explain how to actually do that differently in this presentation. But the old practice theory has no mechanism for capturing varying levels of value provided by the firm. One of the main objectives of this book is to help you understand where you are on this curve and to propel you to the top. You should know that the most fertile minds in business, this includes Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, J.W. Marriott, they didn't just climb the curve, they actually left it behind. Now, you can actually simulate that same type of behavior by these really successful men by raising the bar and offering new and innovative services to your customers, thereby creating more wealth for your customers as well as you in the process. In order to achieve this behavioral change in the future, you have to affect your present thinking and challenge the conventional wisdom of the ages for accounting. So this is going to start by changing your mindset. The first thing that you want to do is avoid being all things to all people. You're likely already advising your clients to be more selective when choosing customers. You should be doing the same. To prove that you likely are not being discriminate with your clients, take out your latest firm brochure or any of your current marketing material and mark anywhere where it specifically says you've got to be special to be one of our clients. You probably won't find it. Even in your brochure or website, it probably implies that all you have to do is breathe to become one of your customers. Don't get stuck in what the book refers to the death spiral of low-level tax work. You have to be discriminate. Even if it's hard at first, you'll realize the benefits will definitely outweigh the negatives. You as a profession have so much more to offer than many other professions in the area of helping your selected clients grow your business. Bad customers, and we'll lay out what the criteria for bad customers are, can drive out the good ones. So how do you create wealth? Your firm's ability to create wealth ultimately depends on your ability to create, disseminate, innovate, and leverage intellectual capital. So what is intellectual capital? Well, it's made up of three components. The first is human capital. This is mainly your team members and associates that work with or for you. The next is structural capital. This is everything that remains in your firm once the human capital has stepped into the elevator at the end of the day. This includes databases, customer lists, systems, procedures, portals, manuals, files, technology, all those other things that the tools that you utilize to produce results for your customers. And the last one is social capital. This includes your customers, suppliers, vendors, networks, referral sources, alumni, and reputation. Of the three types of intellectual capital, this is perhaps the most overlooked and least tapped by the firm, yet it's highly valued by the customers. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how to develop your social capital. Firms of the future have to understand the profound importance of intellectual capital in order to achieve their firm's growth potential. More on how to do that will be further into the book. So we're going to go through the 4 P's of marketing quickly, but note that the book really doesn't delve into anything besides what they deem to be the most important, and that's price. Of these, it's the most complex. It's your firm's only opportunity to capture the value you create through your value proposition. And we'll talk about exactly how to set out a value proposition for your customer a little bit further down. Understand that there's no fixed price for intellectual capital, and you must create the value proposition for your customers, meaning you really have to make them understand what your value is and then set a price that they're willing to pay for that. You should also know that effectiveness should not take precedence over efficiency. A business does not exist to be efficient. Your firm exists to create wealth for its customers. And an obsessive need to increase efficiency, doing things quickly, reduces the firm's effectiveness, which is doing things right. The pursuit of efficiency has hindered a lot of firms' ability to pursue opportunities, and hence you end up spending a lot of your time doing problem solving. Don't be blind to the customer's real needs and desires. Once you've tapped these, you can set the price whatever you want. Professionals are the ultimate knowledge workers, and you use your hearts and minds and not your brawn and hands. You have to recognize the importance of this intellectual capital and knowledge that you have and the effectiveness of the workers who produce it, as well as the customers who purchase it. So first, we're going to look at why you're in business, and then why the customers are going to want that. It's a growing trend that accounting firms are getting that higher purpose set in their mind, which is great. If you don't have it, we're going to teach you how to get there. But this higher purpose means that you're looking beyond just making money, and you're looking at creating some wonderful, significant projects to show that you're actually making an impact. This sense of purpose is not only helpful for you, but for all of the workers that show up to your firm every day. When they have this feeling of a higher purpose, they're going to work harder and more effectively for you. So an example of this is the Lincolnheimer CPAs in Santa Rosa, California. They started a firm program called Kid Accounts Children's Money Program. They explain that the basic goal is to teach elementary school children to think of their money as more than something they immediately spend, to convince them it's okay to think and talk about money and how to use it, and to help them understand how to be smart about money. Every business needs significance to truly succeed. Going from success to significance is a meaningful way to do business. You can think of it this way. Profit is merely the oxygen for the body. It's not the point of life. So profit's nothing more than a lagging indicator of what is in the hearts and minds of your customers. Now we're going to talk about the only purpose of your business, which is to create a customer. The only things that exist inside of a business are costs, activities, efforts, problems, mediocrity, friction, politics, and crises. There's no such thing as a profit center in your business. There's only cost and effort centers. Customers are absolutely indifferent to all these other things going on in your business as far as your costs, your desired profit levels, and all of your efforts. The only thing they see is the value that you provide. And if they don't see that value, then they're not going to pay your prices and they're going to go to someone else. Value is only created when you have produced something that the customer voluntarily and willingly pays for. What makes this marketing concept so brilliant is that the focus is not on the outside of the organization. The focus is always on the outside of the organization. It does not look inside and ask, what do we want and need? Rather, it looks to the customer and asks, what do you desire and value? While this marketing concept has actually existed for decades, it's regularly ignored in professional service firms, which get so caught up in their own rules, regulations, and internal efficiency quotas that you tend to ignore the sole reason for your existence, to get a customer and to keep them happy. Try to elicit the opinions, thoughts, and ideas from your best customers in order to develop this idea a bit more. So how do you affect your customers? People work hard when they believe they're making a contribution beyond just the bottom line. And we talked about this as far as developing a more impactful significance for your firm. If you take a quote from the Salvation Army leaders, one of the most successful organizations in the world, and ask yourself, what does this have to do with helping people? And is this the best use of our resources to help people that we're pledged to serve? If you can't define a policy or proposal or even a long-standing program in those terms, then it has to go. Managers and other enterprises can generalize these test questions to just one. How is this decision going to affect the lives of our customers? That's it. If you can't demonstrate what you propose is going to create value for people, then it's probably the wrong choice and you should just disregard it. A business doesn't exist to be efficient, to do cost accounting, or to give people fancy titles and power over the lives of others. It exists to create wealth outside of itself and results. This profound lesson must not be forgotten. Business is not about annihilating your competition, but rather it's about adding more value to your customers. Make sure you spend the time necessary to answer the question, what is the business for your firm? Develop a core ideology based upon the realities that exist for your customers and how they benefit from what you do. And understand that your firm is an intellectual capital company, and what you're ultimately leveraging is the value that you can create for your customers. Okay, so the next thing that there's a lot more information in the book about, but I'm just going to go over briefly here, is risk and risk assessment. because oftentimes in business, people are so risk adverse. The only problem with that is the less risk, the less opportunities that you're likely to come upon. There are 4 responses generally when confronted with risk. You can either avoid it, reduce it, transfer it, or accept it. In the final analysis, a business cannot eliminate risk, as it would eliminate profits. The goal is to take calculated risks and choose them wisely. The problem is that many professional service firms are playing in order not to lose rather than to win. By setting a nice comfortable floor on their earnings, they have placed an artificial ceiling over their head as well. And this is self-imposed. It comes from the attempt to avoid risk and uncertainty, which in the end is very costly in terms of lost opportunities. Risk avoidance is the antithesis to a successful enterprise, where the goal should be to maximize opportunities rather than minimize risk. So we talked a little bit about intellectual capital towards the beginning, and I'm going to elaborate on it a little bit more as far as human capital and social capital. We won't talk too much about the structural capital because those are mainly the tools that you purchase. We're really, in this book, talking a lot about mindset and how you can shift your mindset as far as your human capital and your social capital. The crucial point is to understand the interplay among the 3 types of intellectual capital is what actually generates the wealth opportunities for your firm. The first we're going to go over is human capital. Most knowledge is created and owned by people and thus resides in the human capital of any firm. Human capital, however, can be converted into structural capital by an increasingly popular role in major firms known as a chief knowledge officer or a CKO. All of the big 4 accounting firms now have a CKO, and mainly the role is to take the individual, who is the creator of knowledge, and allow the organization to become the amplifier of knowledge. So it systematizes all this knowledge that you have in human capital so that you can pass it on, and it actually becomes part of the tools that you use or your structural capital. Think about how often your firm takes the time to mentor your colleagues on the importance of learning and sharing knowledge. I'm sure this gets done sometimes, but it's mainly on an ad hoc or as needed basis, rather than as a systemized, measured part of the performance criteria of team members. So think about ways that you can actually start to systemize the sharing of knowledge in your firm. Start by understanding the worth of your people. Don't treat them as if they were assets, or worse, even resources. Rather, as investors of human capital. And like most investors, they'll go where they can earn their fair economic return, measured in wages, fringe benefits, and other rewards, as well as where they're treated and well respected. So we're going to talk a little bit now about how to increase human capital and get the best human capital at your firm. The first thing that you want to do to improve the human capital in your firm is to change your mindset on it. Many firms still treat their people as if they'll slack off if they're not held accountable for every 6 minutes of every day. Is this really any way to inspire people to be their best? You need to start with a group of people that are responsible and show enough initiative to work on their own and generate value without constant supervision. So you can do this by changing your hiring practice. The first thing recommended is to hire for attitude, not for skills. You can train people in what they need to know, but attitude is very difficult to train or change. Attracting good people and hiring are 2 of the most important jobs to which everyone in your firm can actually contribute ideas and input, which is probably different than the way that you're doing it now, which is 1 or 2 people are responsible for new hiring decisions. No other decisions, though, have as many repercussions throughout the firm and have as lasting or significant effects than hiring choices. Bad team members drive out the good ones. They have a toxic and demoralizing influence on the performance of the firm. It's never easy to admit a hiring mistake, but when necessary, it's absolutely crucial to fire someone that is toxic to your firm. The negative effects on morale can be really significant and ripple throughout the firm. Poor performers are not good role models. They do not make good mentors, and may even be damaging customer relations. So you can start by asking potential hires a series of questions that will actually help you to get a better understanding of their attitude. These include, and please refer to the book for more, what goals have you set for yourself? Great people will have no problem answering this question precisely. Less qualified people will waffle on it. What was your best and worst experience at your last job? How would you define a successful career? What type of person is the hardest for you to get along with? What major contribution do you think you'll bring here? What would your teachers say about you? And tell me about 3 books or articles you've read recently. Then, once they answer these questions, you can record them and have your whole team, give your whole team the ability to evaluate the candidate's answers. Now, to get the best, assume that you've selected someone from this list once you've actually already went through the hiring process, you've had your firm put their input in. Once you've selected someone, great firms will actually send an engagement letter to new hires before they start. Here's an example one. Welcome. We're glad to invite you to the team. We have a buddy system in place, so on Monday when you start, you'll meet with Michelle Dalton in the lobby for a 2-hour tour of the office. She will make sure you get to know some of the people you'll be working with. Between now and then, it's really important that you go to your local bookstore and get 2 books, which we live by here. One is Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and the other is E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. If you have difficulty getting these books, please let John Jones know, and we'll get copies from our library to you. Then on the day you start with us, after you've taken time with the team, I'd like you to sit in my office for 45 minutes so that we can get to know each other and you can give me your impressions of the books. I'd really like to know what in them meant the most to you. Again, congratulations for joining us. It's going to be great to work with you. Sincerely, Managing Partner. Note that why professionals select one firm over another is divided into a few different categories, and one of them is covered in that engagement letter. First is the intrinsic reward. These are all the rewards that are inherent to the work itself, such as the challenge of the work, the level of commitment to the organization's mission and values. The environment encourages creativity, fun, innovation, and the social culture of the firm. These are precisely why people give their hearts, bodies, and minds to volunteer organizations that they work for. The next is the opportunity to grow. How is the firm going to help the person develop his or her intellectual capital? Is it going to offer room for growth and improvement? Will it invest the appropriate level of resources into educating the person? Or are you just going to give them the bare minimum of education they require each year? Recognition of accomplishments. How does the firm recognize outstanding performance, including promotion and involvement in the strategy and direction of the firm? How does it spread the recognition to other members of the firm or the community? And does the firm have a culture of celebrating success? These are all things that potential employees are looking for. Lastly is the obvious one, the economic rewards, compensation of wages, benefits, and other extrinsic aspects the worker receives from the firm. Now, you've probably been focusing mainly on this last one, thinking that that's the key to win over these best employees. But when you start to realize there are 3 other components to that, and those should be developed as well, it's going to make it a lot easier and more financially feasible to actually get the best employees. One thing that you can do to sort of cultivate the best employees within your firm is using annual reviews properly. So right now there's 3 main problems with them. 1, they only get done once a year. If anything, they should be done at least quarterly, if not after every engagement. Once you systemize this, it becomes a lot easier than it actually sounds. And this allows a constant ongoing evaluation so people know how to improve instead of just once a year. 2, it's done by people who are never appraised themselves. So if you're one of the managing partners, are you ever evaluated by one of the other partners? Lastly, they're never reviewed. They just get thrown into a file folder and everyone at the top of the firm doesn't look at them. It should be something that's integrated into the whole lifestyle of the firm and something that you use to constantly improve yourself and the employee that it was actually done on. Now we're going to look a little bit more closely at social capital. Social capital is all the people involved in your firm aside from the actual people that you work with, so your employees and colleagues. A firm's social capital comprises the following elements: customer reputation and brand, referral sources and networks, suppliers and vendors, shareholders and other external stakeholders, joint venture partners and alliances, professional associations and formal affiliations, and firm alumni. Once an organization's brand and reputation begin to be perceived as adding no value, it is destined to become history. Your firm's reputation and your individual reputation as a trusted and respected advisor exists solely in the hearts and minds of the customers you are privileged to serve. Their impressions become your reputation. Since most professional services are built on word of mouth, it's also really important to cultivate referrals. Of course, the best source of referrals for you are going to be your A customers because they're likely associated with other A customers. These people are the most loyal and enthusiastic about your firm's value proposition. This is where specialization in a given area or industry can provide truly outstanding leverage. Now we're going to go over why you are your customer list. You should know that you're only as good as the current customers you have. So if you want to improve your firm, you have to improve the quality of the customers that you serve. You should first know why your customers really buy. It seems like a really easy question. What are you getting paid for? But really, it's often more things like peace of mind, more time to work on their business, specialized knowledge and a wealth of experience. Any of these would be applicable. Just figure out the one that suits you best. Fill in the phrase, don't sell me accounting services, sell me blank. The next thing that you need to know is what exactly your value proposition is. And this is the entire set of experiences that your organization causes a customer to have. Customers can perceive the combination of experiences to be net superior, equal, or inferior to alternative options. When they have a feeling of being superior, then they're never going to leave you. Total quality service is customer-focused service. It's impossible to transform the experience for your customer unless you first and continuously transform the experience for your people too. So this isn't just about your customers at this point. Your customers must see your commitment, the commitment, passion, and the excitement in your people. And in order to do this, you're going to go back a few slides and look at how to actually acquire and inspire those people. Going from zero defect to zero defections means you should be focusing on customer retention rather than new customer acquisition. Never take your current clients for granted and appreciate their loyalty. And lastly, remember that bad customers, just like bad employees, drive out the good. Evaluate your customers and let go of the bad and time-consuming ones. Adaptive capacity is determining the optimal capacity where each customer can be served adequately. It is critical to define your target customers, what they need, want, and expect, and the value proposition you will offer them in order to actually increase the quality of the customers that you have. If you don't have these defined, then it's going to be a lot harder for you to move up to the next level. Now, how to charge. This is something that's also changing for the firms of the future. Timekeeping was originally adopted for cost accounting purposes. Then it became the method by which professionals price their services. Prior to pricing by the hour, both attorneys and CPAs charged fixed rates for everything they did. The only way to actually ensure profitable pricing is to let anticipated pricing determine the costs incurred rather than the other way around. Value-based pricing must begin before other investments are made. Profit-leading companies now think about what market segment they want a new product to serve, determine the benefits to those potential customers, and establish a price those customers can be convinced to pay. The companies challenge their engineers to develop products and services that can be produced at a cost low enough to make serving the market segment profitable. Let's look at the 5 C's of value to look at how you can determine your value proposition and your fixed pricing. The main function of your firm's marketing strategy is not simply to acquire revenue at any price, but to gain your share of highly profitable work. It's not enough to price based on a customer's willingness and ability to pay. You must increase that willingness by constantly communicating the value of your offerings. To do this, let's go through the 5 C's. Comprehend what drives sustainable value for your customers. Create value for customers. Make sure you communicate the value you create. Convince customers they must pay for the value received, and capture value with appropriate price metrics and fences. Questions to ask your customers in order to get to the bottom of this. and provide true value so that they have no problem paying you include, but not exclusive, because there's many more in the book. What do you expect from us? What is your current pain in your business? What keeps you awake at night? What are your major challenges? How do you see us helping address these challenges and opportunities? What growth plans, long and short term, do you have? Who are your major competitors? How are you different from them? Do you anticipate capital needs or need financing? Do you anticipate any mergers, purchases, or reorganizations in the near future? There's also an additional set of questions your firm should ask internally to the firm and the team members before setting a price, and you can find these in the book. Now, in order to price and set your fixed prices, you need to make sure that you're measuring effectiveness of your employees versus efficiency. Since we're no longer talking about time-based billing, efficiency doesn't matter as much. What you want is effectiveness in the creation of value. You want to look at indicators that show the health of your business. Leading indicators anticipate the direction your business is headed. Coincident indicators provide information about the current status, and lagging indicators change months after a downturn or upturn. Remember, the sole purpose of a business is to create wealth for its customers, not simply be efficient. So you should be using leading indicators because they measure the success the same way your customer does. And ultimately, the success of any business is a result of loyal customers who return. These leading indicators are typically non-financial by nature and can be affected by every member of your team. To know which are best for your firm, you must actively test different ones, but they could include customer loyalty, profit per partner, turnaround time, completed to uncompleted jobs ratio, share of your customer's wallet, and number of customer contacts per week. To begin making the changes, ask your team members which they'd like to be held accountable to, and then you can test and grow from there. Also, to see more of the leading indicators that you could potentially use, refer back to the book. Okay, the last thing that we're going to talk about is the levels of firms of the future. So everything we've discussed is about challenging the status quo of how accounting firms have run in the past and increasing profitability in these firms. The firms of the future are highly profitable and highly targeted. The firms of the future have a ladder which defines how successful you are. By reaching the final level, the paradigm, and having vision, you will ultimately reach the success and significance that you want out of your firm. To figure this out, you need to know your firm's core ideology. How will you build a visionary practice where people voluntarily decide to contribute their human capital and not because it's mandatory? How will you create a timeless practice that junior members will want to purchase at some point in their careers? Are you building a practice that you would be proud to have your son or daughter work at? What you need to do is think about what your accounting firm can do to serve your clients, shareholders, and other stakeholders as completely as possible. This is what the book refers to as the firm of the future. So as you can see, based on everything we went through, it's a highly mindset-driven book. And if this is something you're looking for, then it's perfect for you. The review that I did last on Salim Omar's book is a little bit more tactical, and it contains a little bit of the mindset stuff as well. That might be a better starting point. But it's actually filled with tons of amazing examples to give you motivation and inspire you to actually change your practice. So this is a great book for inspiration and something that's going to give you and your team plenty of ideas in how to change and challenge the traditional setup of an accounting firm. Let me know if you have any questions. You can email me at laura@emailstopwatch.com or just reply in the comment section. Thanks.